I was born in a Christian household. I went to church every Sunday. I was molested when I was around 4 or 5 years old. I was introduced to pornography when I was around 7 or 8. And these sexual relationships stopped when I was around 11. And I kept on going to church, hoping that God will remove that from me, hoping that God will remove the desires. And I prayed, I fasted, and I was active at church. I was very committed, and I was a servant. I became a leader of the church. I was part of the worship ministry, and when I was 15, I used to lead worship ministry for a church of 500 people. And I remember some parents and some mothers came to me and they used to tell me, like, I'm praying for my children to be just like you. And in the back of my head, I'm like, you don't know what you're asking for. And please God, don't answer this prayer. And I kept on doing so until I went to college. And then, like the Bible say, I'd rather you be hot or cold, otherwise I'll spit you out of my mouth. So I decided to be cold. I decided to give it all up. I asked God for my free will. I say, God, where is my free will? I just want to go out. What kind of freedom is this that you tied us to? I want to leave. Just leave me alone. And I went out there and started looking for love in the wrong place. I started sleeping around, and as I'm looking for love, I just find myself disappointed time and time again. And I just keep on giving myself away to people that are not helping me at all. And something that was really impacting to me is that you can go and spend a night with someone and the next morning they don't know who you are. And that was just so tremendous to my life. I just couldn't believe it, couldn't fit my head. But I found myself a couple of months, like a year later, being that person who didn't know who the other person was the next morning. I moved back. I traveled to the States. I'm originally from Colombia, and I traveled here for a couple of summers. And I decided to move away from my parents so that they won't know. If they didn't see me living my life as a homosexual, they wouldn't feel anything, and they just wouldn't worry about that. So before I moved here, definitely, they found out, unfortunately. And they started praying for me hard. Prayers are very effective. I moved to the States, and I often say that I was running away from God, and I found Him. Or more likely, He found me. And I didn't come back home or come back to God, not only because I needed Him and I wanted to, but because I was sick. I was sick of my life, and I was sick of the homosexual life. I found myself, after giving myself away to tens and tens of people, and I had so many relationships and so many sexual encounters, but I had no friends left. And that's one of the things that brought me back to God. I just was in so much need of a friend, and a real connection and a real intimacy that brought me back to God.
And God has sent Jesus to bind up the brokenhearted, to proclaim freedom for the captives and release from darkness for the prisoners, to proclaim the year of the Lord's favor, to comfort all who mourn, and provide for those who grieve in Zion, to bestow on them a crown of beauty instead of ashes, the oil of gladness instead of mourning, and a garment of praise instead of a spirit of despair. Welcome to Hope for Wholeness. I'm Janelle Hallman, and today's lesson will be Broken Fences.